So just a little bit about myself. I'm a cell and molecular biologist by training. Okay, so I'm a scientist. I did 25 years at the bench and then went to population biology. But throughout my 32 years as a professor in that, I've always concentrated a great deal on trying to get information to students, the students that you need to pursue whatever your health goal, your goal is. If you want to go into the health professions, that's what I want for you. If you want to do something else, that's fine. I just want you to have high quality information. So just a little bit about that too. My goal here today, and the reason I'm doing this, is to get everybody the same high quality advising and mentoring. Having advised students for 32 years, I see that you have bits and pieces. I see that you have to use a lot by hearsay. Whatever. So what I really want to do is not make sure that everybody has the minimum information, but that everybody has the maximum information. Because then you can all compete on what I say, an elevated playing field. People always talk about leveling the playing field, and that's always kind of rubbed me. And I thought leveling kind of implies like we're going to make sure everybody gets a minimum, but I want everybody to get the maximum. So it's really about increasing everybody's information so that you have the best information that you're available. And as you all know, I'm sure already, you can only get part of that on the internet. I always say the thing about the internet and things about general advice, if something is true for everybody, you can put it on the internet. If it's on the internet, you can read it. You don't need me to help you read it. But what doesn't appear on the internet, and what is one-on-one advising that's needed as opposed to what you can look. As you can say, this is just near and dear to my heart. We're in the middle and are going to have a huge physician shortage. And this is all kinds of health workers, dentists, PAs, nurses, on and on. So on the one hand, you could think, why? I'll bet that all these new positions are going to open up in medical schools. Well, it's not going to happen probably as fast as we would like, but it does need to happen, okay? The limitation is not applicants, but the size of the medical school class, the number of professors that are available to teach, whatever. So it's going to take a while, hopefully, to gear up here to train. It will, not hopefully, but it will take. So I am here to have all of you get into whatever profession you want and to compete well. In the title today, I said this was Strategies for Admissions to the Health Profession, and I put fact and myth. I didn't say fact and fiction because the errors aren't really funny. Okay? But what is the fact and what is the myth? And this is it. Having done this for 32 years, I have all kinds of students come in and tell me what their impressions are. And this is why, in terms of these presentations, and I'm actually in the process of writing a book or a manual for people as well to try and dispel some of these myths. So what are some of the common myths? Well, not true that the admissions committee has a favorite major. Lots of students think the admissions committee has a favorite major. Or they tell me, well, I shouldn't major in biology because that's not interesting enough. Or even worse, that's not sexy. I'm going, okay. Everybody should double major. I have students, so many students, who think that they have to double major. They believe that they have to double major and do a certificate in global health or whatever. And if you can handle all that, more power to you, but this is not the way the admissions committee looks at the process. I've been on the admissions committee for our medical school. I've been for the medical scholars program. And when I did this as a scientist, I actually made a study, not just of what I had to say, but what other people had to say and how we do or don't look at it differently. Admissions committees are oftentimes 20, 22, 24 people, usually a combination of physicians, dentists, PAs, and PhDs as well. So it's good because everybody kind of has their own perspective and that, but you get an averaging with so many people on the admissions committee. Students tell me, well, everybody, and basically any sentence that starts with everybody is wrong, okay? So everybody should take physics with calculus. If math is your strong point, go ahead. If not, you don't have to. I have students think that 1/100th of a grade point difference is something that the admissions committee is going to look at. And if you have a 3.54 or a 3.55, think about the statistics classes you've taken. That means nothing. It has nothing to do with the quality of a physician that you're going to be. So be careful about overemphasizing and overstressing the numbers, and I'll talk more about that in a couple of more. Also, I hear, and I keep track of these, I've had students say, well, one medical student and an English professor can tell you everything you need to know. You know, they don't need me, they don't need a network of people, they don't need advising or mentoring. You just have to talk to one medical student. Does that medical student know why he or she got in? Do they know what the strengths and the weaknesses of their application are? I think not, okay? So you may know a medical student, but I wouldn't count on that person having all the answers. I have students tell me, write me 2-3 weeks into the semester, like right now, and say, I'm thinking about dropping a course, but is it true that the admissions committee will frown on anybody who takes less than 15 credits? No. If you take 8 credits every semester, we're wondering whether you're going to be able to handle a full load in medical or dental or PA, but no. You know, the same things can be interpreted in opposites. That's a sign of maturity. To know that what your load you can take, it's always better to get 6 credits of A than to get 12 credits of C. Okay? So if you have a light semester, it's not an issue. People say, oh, you know, I'll be in trouble if I drop a class. Again, that may be maturity, that may be good management. If you drop a class every semester, I'm going to worry, because then I want to know, I'm going to be concerned about whether you know how to plan, and plan for what your load should actually be. So you can drop a class, you don't make a habit of it, but you can definitely drop a class. One of the things too is, not so much now, but in the past, and that students thinking that they can pad their GPA, like the admissions committee only sits down and looks at a number and makes a judgment on that. And that's what my goal is today, is to dispel the notion that the only thing we look at are grades and admission tests. It is so much more than that. Okay, and the thing of it is, so all of these are not true, okay? And all of this, again, is not true. So anytime you start a sentence with everybody, you're going to be wrong, okay? What is general advice is how much, you know, biological science and physical science and math you need. Everything else can come down to the individual, okay? So you need individualized advising as well. Some of you are in my class. Some of you have seen me as advisees before. I have your email address as well. Any of you can come see me on campus for one-on-one involvement. So now this isn't going to be popular, but I've got 2 take-home messages right now that I want you to grab onto. And the first one is, on basis of 32 years, the biggest problem that pre-health, pre-med, pre-dent students have is taking advice from each other. Okay? You hear it, it's the first thing you heard, and think how often, how many times we get a piece of information and we hang on to it so tightly, and then it's somebody else's job to try to dispel that notion. So my point is always that, again, that there's general advice that's true for everybody. Specific advice is what's true for you. A couple of years ago, I'm a storyteller, a couple of years ago, a student came into my office and had never seen me before, and I spent 45 minutes. She wanted to go to medical school, and at the end she said, my roommate doesn't have a pre-med advisor. Could she come to you as too? And I said, certainly. And she came in, and I spent about 20 minutes, and just the demeanor of this person indicated she wasn't absorbing what I was saying, you know, and a little suspicious with one shoulder up, kind of like this. So after about 20 minutes, I said, is any of this helpful? And she said, this isn't what Linda said you'd say. And I said, that's because that was advice for Linda. okay? So the advice I give you, there's advice that's true for everybody, there's advice that's true for you. If you can take advice from somebody on the admissions committee or who's been on the admissions committee, why wouldn't you do that instead of resorting to your roommate? The other thing I want you to understand at the outset here is even though we're going to spend about 2 hours at this, at the end of that time, I will not have told you everything I know. I have heard students say before, oh, well, I've heard Dr. Duello speak, once for 50 minutes, and it's like, well, I know everything she knows. I'm constantly learning. I'm constantly learning by the questions you ask. So this is by no means finite. Anyway, so definitely have a network of people to help you. So that's my introduction. Thank you.